I'm Amy Jo Martin. Welcome to the Why Not Now show. You know that thing you've been thinking about doing? Yeah, that one. Why not now? Have you ever actually taken the time to ask yourself, what's stopping me? Let's talk it through. This is your chance to give that idea the attention it deserves and take action. Each episode, I have a chat with a fascinating person, from entrepreneurs to athletes, celebrities, my parents, rocket scientists, and all walks of life. We talk through a critical time when they've asked themselves, why not now? We dissect that day or even that moment, step by step.
Just let go.
Hey everyone, today we are talking about one of my favorite topics, one of the most important things that I think you can do for yourself personally and professionally, and that is find a mentor. How to find a mentor. We're talking mentorship in general, how to find someone to mentor, how to be a mentor and find someone who can be your mentee, and everything that goes along with it. We have 3 specific things you can do right away if you are in this spot where you are looking to do this. And it's pretty short and simple today, but we get straight to it. I'm here with Emily Kostopoulos. Speaking of mentorship, I just want to remind you, we are ending our early bird pricing for Renegade Brand Bootcamp within days. So if you've been thinking about joining the program or you want to learn more, by all means, head to renegadebrandbootcamp.com. Mentorship is a huge component of the infrastructure that I've set up for this program. And it's not just one-to-one mentorship, it's one-to-many and many-to-one. So imagine just mentorship on steroids, really. It's exponential. So head to renegadebrandbootcamp.com if you're interested. It's really focused on equal parts education, collaboration, and accountability in the areas of personal brand essence, public speaking, podcasting, partnerships, social media, and just ways to build your brand to make a bigger impact and generate more revenue, because there's nothing wrong with that. RenegadeBrandBootcamp.com is the website, and sign up for the emails if you want to learn more. We tackle the most taboo topics on the Why Not Now show. Oftentimes, you're hearing guests share things they've never shared before. In the spirit of things we don't typically talk about, you should know that the Why Not Now show is supported by Poo-Pourri, the original before-you-go toilet spray. It's magic. My friends at Poo-Pourri have literally taken the smell out of you-know-what. This pure blend of essential oils stops bathroom odor before it begins. Visit poopourri.com, and Why Not Now listeners get 20% off with code WHYNOTNOW. That's all one word. And you can hear the story about Poo-Pourri in our interview with founder Suzy Batiz. That's Why Not Now, episode 28. Poo-Pourri is also available at Target. All right, here we are. I've got Emily Kostopoulos with me here today. Hello. And we are, just to set the scene, we are in the Black Hills of South Dakota. And we're in 100-plus-year-old cabin, my family cabin. It's pretty surreal. We're sitting in this log cabin. It's been in the family for 6 generations, and we've got all this equipment, and we've got Lincoln near us. It's just really special.
Mm-hmm. I know. In the bathroom, you have a sign that says "Finally Flushing," because you didn't always have a flushable toilet out here, right?
No, we didn't. I mean, until about 20 years ago, my dad made an addition so it could be a little more.
Oh, my gosh. Did he bring the electricity in then, too?
There was a little bit of electricity out here prior. We'll make sure we're sharing stuff on social so you can see this, but it's pretty throwback.
I love it. I love it.
So, how are you doing today? First, let's kind of settle in.
I'm good. I'm good. I drove out here and the energy coming out here with all the bikes and it's fascinating.
So, we are having the Harley Davidson Sturgis rally
It's
right
not
now.
the Harley Davidson one.
Oh,
I'm sure they would love
oh
that.
my gosh. For all these years, for 40 years, I've referred to it as that. Maybe we
Have
should,
you really?
should we cut this part out?
Yeah, just you can re-say it, but that's so funny.
Okay, so we're not going to say the Harley Davidson. So we are in the middle of the Sturgis rally, which is
It's a motorcycle rally. So our area, well, Sturgis of 6,000 people gets upwards of 500,000 people for 1 week out of the year.
and that
It's so
can be a
nuts.
logistical, not energetic challenge at times, but also really exciting. People from all over the country. So
Yeah.
you might hear some bikes in the background.
Yeah.
We're
I know
pretty
there's
far
like this
nestled in.
buzz
Yeah.
around. Yeah, I like it. But
So that is now the scene is set. We are going to dive into the topic of mentorship today. Oh, this is a topic so close to my heart. And the more we can be mentoring people, the more we can be mentees, the better. Especially women. For the longest time, I only had male mentors. And now I'm so grateful to have female mentors as well. So, a big topic so many people ask about this. How do I find a mentor? Or even, how can I mentor someone?
yeah,
So we're going to dive in.
yeah, I love it. I love that you said that for the longest time it was mostly men, because that's how it was for corporate world for me.
Yeah, and it was just kind of a product of numbers. Mm-hmm. It just was matter of fact that there weren't as many women that could mentor me in the positions that.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've clearly taken that on your shoulders now to make sure you can mentor. You can be a female mentor to other women.
It's so important to me.
Full circle.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, it's such an interesting concept because I think sometimes we try to put mentorship in a box of, okay, it's a transaction, it's very formal, I need to find a mentor. And none of my situations have really been formal like that. You know, I haven't gone out to seek a mentor per se. However, you can and you should, but it doesn't usually show up in the way you think it might.
Yeah. It's pretty hard to put your hands on because it's like how you meet your partners in life or how you meet friends. Sometimes it can be, a blind date set up, or sometimes you just happen to be in the right coffee shop at the right time. It's such a hard thing. But our goal is to try and give 3 different ways that maybe you can start looking into.
Yep.
Finding someone that can step into that role or that you can step into that role in someone else's life.
Exactly. And so in sifting through this and everything we've experienced, both Emily and I, along the lines of mentorship, we've identified a few different things. And the first one, as we were talking this through, is really you do have to put yourself out there. And it can come in a lot of different forms. Maybe it is on social media. It's a direct message. Maybe it's showing up to a conference by yourself.
By yourself.
Don't get too comfy with the people you're attending and then you never meet anyone else. But I think the expectation on the other side of the putting yourself out there is what oftentimes trips people up. I'm not suggesting you DM someone and say, will you be my mentor? I'm absolutely not suggesting that. I've had it happen to me before, and it's like not even having met someone yet and asking them to marry you. Like you have to ease into it and first see, do you even want this person to really be your mentor? Get to know them. So don't even mention the word.
No. How any good relationship starts is it's with curiosity and just trying to understand who that other person is because you genuinely are interested and you want to know, or something about them clicked with you, even if it's across social media or someone speaking up on a stage at a conference you went to.
Exactly. And that's just kind of true for life in general. if your intention is to find a mentor, that's great. This is one way to do that. But letting curiosity lead you will never lead you astray.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about 2 examples of this. So you have one you wrote about in your book.
Yes. And this was a long time ago. I'd say it's one of my first kind of true mentors, but we never called it that. And I mean, eventually I think I started referring to it, but it wasn't like we agreed. And it started with a direct message on Twitter, and it had nothing to do with mentorship. I was seeking information about a corporate social media policy. And I was just trying to I was researching what are other companies doing, because I worked for the Phoenix Suns at the time, and I was trying to get some examples I could send to our upper management and HR to show that the social media thing isn't totally bad. We can create some policies. So I direct messaged Tony Hsieh, the CEO of Zappos, and I didn't even know who he was. I honestly didn't care too much. I just wanted to know what their policy was, because they were rocking it on social media with their employees. And 2 weeks later, I DM'd him and said, "Hi, do you mind sharing your social media policy?" And he DM'd me and said, "Be real and use your best judgment." And that was it. And I was like, okay, well, thank you. That's your policy. And it actually literally was their whole communication policy, actually. And long story short, we started direct messaging back and forth and ended up meeting up at a conference. And that led to a series of different types of relationships between him being a friend, then a mentor, a client, an investor, all through a blind DM.
That gives me the chills to think about, because, I mean, reading the book, what a pivotal message to send. And it's so funny to think about, if you hadn't have just reached out, if you hadn't have just put yourself out there, so many things that wouldn't have happened, but you never would have expected it would have led there.
Oh,
It's just so organic, and it's just, I mean, I love that.
And one thing I just have to preface, because relatability is key. And this was before I started my company. This was before I started working with Shaquille O'Neal. My name on Twitter was at Phoenix Suns Girl. I mean, there was nothing fancy about me. There was no, cred that got him to DM me back. He just genuinely does care and help people. Customer service is in his DNA, but it's more about just delivering happiness. So I preface that with, don't be thinking, oh, well, it's because of what you were doing.
Zappos and
Nope. He didn't know me from Adam, and I didn't know him, and I didn't even secretly know what Zappos was.
Ooh.
So, but now I do. I mean, whatever. So, okay, do you have an example, right?
Yeah, so maybe a little more relatable.
But that one is too.
It is.
I don't want excuses.
Yes, you're correct. You are
Put
correct.
yourself out there.
Put yourself out there. So the reason that Amy Jo and I met is through a blind DM on Instagram. And I look back on that, and it was such a quick little like, oh my goodness, this woman lives in my area and she has done a lot of amazing things in her career. I'm curious about this. And I could have never predicted that it would lead to where we're at right now, ever. But I also think if I would have thought through it a little bit, I could have convinced myself out of it pretty easily. Because, we see people that have a big following on social, and we're like, oh, they're never going to want to, they're never going to want to talk with me, or they're so busy, or they probably get messages like this all the time. So I think that's another component of this. Like, if you feel something, if some sort of pull to send the message or go to the conference or go walk up to someone, like, you have to just do it sometimes. Mm-hmm. Don't let yourself overthink this.
Exactly. Because what's the worst thing that could happen? Maybe someone doesn't respond. Mm-hmm. Yeah, get used to that, right? That happens in the physical world,
all the time. Yeah.
The virtual world, whatever.
Totally.
And you will never know if you don't. And I think what you said too about curiosity mixed with genuine care, like just you genuinely and innocently care you want to get to know someone.
Yeah.
And you are interested in what they're doing, because people can really read between the lines if there's a different intent.
Yeah.
So,
and sometimes it's helpful to think about the in-person component of this.
Yep.
You would never walk up to someone and just say, can you do this for me?
Right.
So we can't do that on social. Social should be a reflection of how we treat people in real life,
Right. Agreed. And so the next element that we wanted to share, let's say you're working in the corporate world or you have a more 9-to-5 job and you're having a tough time kind of finding someone to help guide you and you're interested in finding a mentor. When I was on kind of that side of the fence and in that environment, the first place I would naturally kind of look was within that company, right?
Yeah.
So that would be a really good place to start and low-hanging fruit. And it doesn't mean that that's your boss per se. And oftentimes, I think bosses do become mentors, but that can definitely blur some lines. Maybe it's a completely different department. Maybe it's in the same industry or partner of the company.
It could even be a coworker who's just been there a little longer than you, or perhaps is doing something in their trajectory that interests you as well.
Exactly. And one of the things that my mentor, Suzy, who's been on the show, and we actually have discussed this before too, so, but kind of a different spin on it. She always says she finds people who have done what she wants to do. Like, make sure that you're matching up with someone who has been down that road and you want what they have, right? Not necessarily, materialistically, literally, and maybe you do, but you want to achieve what they have or something similar.
Yeah.
It's a good way to kind of size up.
Yeah.
Who?
I think it's hard to kind of narrow in on finding a mentor in your workplace because there's so many different options. But I would say looking back on the people that mentored me, my working relationship, I never thought they were mentors. But I look back and I'm like, oh, I still keep in touch with these people. I still care about their opinions and want to seek out their advice. So it's being a little fluid in this.
That's a great point. Where you look back at something, you're like, oh, they are a mentor. I've done that multiple times too, where I didn't name it at the time, or vice versa. If maybe I end up mentoring someone and I never even framed it up that way, but
oh, absolutely,
you just genuinely care and want to help them. And that's the other thing. Remember, this is equal value exchange. So having someone mentor you is not a favor. They should also be getting a lot out of the relationship. I know on my end, having, of course, been on both sides, a mentee and a mentor, I get value from both. And that's key because otherwise it's not sustainable.
And I think another thing that's coming to me having this conversation, especially if you're seeking someone out in your workplace, you also still have to put yourself out there in the terms of opening up to people. Because if you are genuinely looking for someone to help you get through something that they've already done it or you just don't have the tools yet, you kind of have to, let the vulnerability come out and share what you're going through and the struggles or whatever it is. And that can be just as hard sometimes.
Absolutely. It's a relationship. I mean, navigating personal dynamics is always going to be, full of life and can take you in a lot of different places. So I know we said 3 things. The first one, putting yourself out there, the form of a DM or going to a conference alone, whatever it might be. The second, I don't know if we really named it per se, but that's if you're in a corporate environment or in a job currently, looking around, that scene and atmosphere for who could be, a good mentor. And likely you already know them, so you've already built a relationship. So there's really good efficiency there too.
Yeah. I mean, even think about like when you're on a coffee break, who do you want to go talk to? Like that might be a good indication of who do you naturally want to open up to.
Right. And ask them to coffee and not have an agenda per se. And tell them on the front end, I do not have an agenda. I just would love to get to know you better. That to me is much different than, can I pick your brain? Or, which we don't like that saying around here. It just, plus it's so open-ended. You have no idea what you're walking into. And you don't, none of us have time for curveball surprises in our schedule that, we carve out a little chunk and then it's like, what? So the third thing is really keep an open mind of who could mentor you and where you might meet them and find them. Because I think we tend to look in our industry, or whatever we're doing, and we tend to be pretty linear about it. But there just might be someone that is right kind of under your nose that you didn't even imagine could be someone to guide you. And it's a pretty easy find. Or it could be someone that's so unexpected. Like earlier today, I was thinking, the farmers around here, they have so much expertise in life, business. And I was just thinking to myself, I do want to just go have coffee with a farmer.
Yeah.
I don't know what's just the curiosity, but there's so much wisdom.
There's a lot of wisdom in other, people that are finding success in a different industry, and maybe it has no relation to you, such as a farmer. But all of the things that they've had to overcome and create, like it's just so cool to hear it from a perspective that you're not used to.
Yeah.
And incredibly valuable.
Exactly. And imagine the refreshing nature of having someone approach you that's from a completely different world.
Yeah.
And, there's Lincoln. I knew this time would come, but it's a good thing because we're starting to wrap up soon. So, yeah, and I know that probably sounds random. You're thinking farmer. Well, whatever that means to you, just know that your mentor doesn't have to wear a suit and have a briefcase.
Yeah. Or, anything. If you're a photographer, your mentor does not need to be a photographer.
Exactly.
If you're a marketer, you do not need to have someone in the marketing world. So I'll share one brief example that I think I didn't expect that this would lead to a mentor in my life. But there's a man in my life that I'm going to start that over. That seems weird.
That's okay. There's many men in your life.
I have so many men in my life. There's the person who owns the building that I rent my space from. I've gotten to know him really well over the last year. And our relationship started incredibly, I want to say organic. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but it just started just a simple working relationship in my past career. And then we started working together in terms of, I'm renting from him. And then our relationship has evolved in the way that it's very clear to me that he's a mentor of mine. And I never would have sought him out to be a mentor before. But opening up to what he brought to the table and what I was learning from him, I'm so glad that I didn't have that caveat of like, my mentors, first of all, you can have more than one.
Yes.
My mentors have to be female entrepreneurs because that's not always the case. So I'm glad that wasn't there because that relationship is incredibly valuable in my life.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because it hadn't even occurred to me. Like we can totally pendulum swing here too between, oh no, only women and girl power. And no, that's not what we're saying. But what a good example of how it grew and formed without you intending it to, without you really wanting it to. It wasn't like you were trying to accomplish this. And exactly. And you think about, going and having meetings, maybe you're pitching someone for something, or it's a partnership or an investor or interviewing someone to work with you, and you never know where that relationship might net out. Like I'm thinking about one of my mentors. I met him at the CES conference, and the conversation started in a completely different area. I never imagined he would end up being a mentor at all. And it started with just one call of advice. He was happy to hop on a call and talk to me. I knew nothing about mergers and acquisitions, and he has a lot of experience. So we talked on the phone, and then the next thing you know, like, we're friends and so on and so forth, and he's definitely a mentor. So, yeah, like it's a nonlinear process. The more we try to make it linear, I think the more forced it feels and the more roadblocks.
Yep.
Yeah. How are we doing?
We're killing it.
So, full disclosure, we use the Pomodoro method, and so we set our timer for 25, I think it might be 26 minutes, to see if we could get this done before Lincoln woke up for his next feeding, and we've totally accomplished it. And I think I feel good.
I do too.
So if you have thoughts about mentorship, by all means, reach out to us on social. There's another episode that I did with Suzy Batiz, my mentor, and she also talks about her mentor, Gay Hendricks, who's been on the podcast as well. And those episodes can be found in the archives as well. And it's so important to have these people in our lives. I just can't encourage you more to take your time with it, but definitely make it a goal, to find someone to be in that role for you or for you to be in that role for someone else. It should work both ways. I really encourage you to do both. By XYZ, in 3 months or in 1 year, I want to have really developed a relationship with someone. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the show. Hit me up on social media to let me know what you think. I'm at Amy Jo Martin on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I want to hear your Why Not Now moments so I can share them on the show. Just send me a note to whynotnow@amyjomartin.com. For show notes and other offers, you can visit amyjomartin.com/whynotnow. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for my email newsletter for exclusive content and announcements. A big thanks to Rock Salt Music for all of the tunes by the talented John Coggins. And of course, a hat tip to Richard Brewer for editing and producing the show. I'll see you next time. And until then, why not now?